Hello, my name is Carlos and I have an incredible story to share with you. I know it may sound crazy, but please listen to me until the end. What I'm about to recount completely changed my view of the world, and I'm sure it will impact yours too. It all began a few months ago when I was 40 years old. I was a university physics professor, a staunch atheist and a skeptic when it came to anything that couldn't be scientifically proven. My life was calm and predictable, divided between college lectures, lab research, and moments with my family. That fateful Friday night, I was on my way home after a long week of work. I was exhausted and couldn't wait to get home, take a hot shower, and rest. The traffic was heavy and the rain was pouring down, making visibility difficult. And then it happened. A car, speeding, appeared out of nowhere, coming the wrong way. I tried to swerve, but it was too late. The impact was violent and, in a matter of seconds, everything went dark. The last thing I remember was the deafening sound of the collision and the feeling of being thrown out of the vehicle. What happened next defies everything I had ever believed. Suddenly, I found myself floating above the scene of the accident. I could see my motionless body on the asphalt, surrounded by desperate people trying to help me. It was like watching a movie. But I was the protagonist. Confused and frightened, I tried to scream to get someone's attention, but no one seemed to hear or see me. That's when I realized I was dead. Or at least, that's what it seemed. Before I could process what was happening, I felt a powerful force pulling me. It was as if I were being sucked into a tunnel of intense light. The sensation was indescribable, a mix of fear and fascination. When the light dissipated, I found myself in a place I could never have imagined. It wasn't the sky with clouds and angels that many describe, nor the hell of fire and torment. It was something completely different, beyond human comprehension. I was surrounded by a pulsating energy, vibrant colors that do not exist in our world. I felt connected to everything and everyone, as if I were part of a universal consciousness. There were no longer any barriers of time or space. Past, present, and future merged into an eternal now. It was at that moment that I had the deepest revelation of my entire existence. I realized that everything I thought I knew about the universe, about life and death, was just the tip of the iceberg. There was so much more, far beyond what our science can explain or comprehend. I encountered beings of light, entities that seemed to hold all the wisdom of the universe. They did not speak, but communicated directly with my consciousness. They showed me truths that challenged everything I had always defended as a professor and scientist. I saw the history of the creation of the universe, not as a random Big Bang, but as an act of love and purpose. I understood that life is not a cosmic accident, but part of a greater plan, a journey of evolution and learning for our souls. I witnessed the cycle of reincarnations, saw my past and future lives. I realized that every experience, every challenge, every relationship has a purpose in our spiritual journey. Nothing happens by chance. The most surprising thing was realizing that there is no real separation between us. We are all part of a single consciousness, temporarily divided into billions of individual expressions. The love I felt at that moment was overwhelming, unconditional, infinite. As I absorbed these revelations, I was introduced to a concept that completely changed my understanding of existence: cosmic free will. I discovered that our souls choose to come to Earth, knowing the challenges they will face, but also the opportunities for growth. I saw the moment when my soul decided to incarnate in this life as Carlos, the atheist professor. I understood that my skepticism wasn't a mistake, but part of my learning journey. Every doubt, every question was preparing me for this moment of awakening, but the journey did not stop there. I was taken to a sort of Akashic library, a repository of all the universe's knowledge. There, I could access information on any subject, any moment in history, any mystery of the cosmos. It was in that place that I understood the true purposes of science and spirituality. I saw that they are not opposites, but two sides of the same coin. Science helps us understand the mechanisms of the physical universe, while spirituality connects us with its essence. I learned about the universal laws that govern all existence: the law of attraction, karma, resonance, I understood how our thoughts and emotions literally shape our reality. It was a shocking revelation for someone who had always believed only in what could be measured and quantified. I witnessed the power of humanity's collective consciousness. I saw how our shared beliefs, fears, and hopes create energetic fields that influence the course of history. I realized that we have far more power than we imagined to change the world. One of the most impactful experiences was observing the effect of our actions on the web of life. Every choice, every word, every gesture creates waves of energy that spread throughout the universe. Nothing goes unnoticed. Everything has consequences. I saw people I had hurt in the past. I understood the pain I caused, and I felt deep remorse. But I also experienced unconditional forgiveness, both for myself and from others. I realized that we are all souls in evolution, learning through mistakes and successes. I encountered loved ones who had already departed. My grandparents, a childhood friend, even pets I had loved. They were all there, radiant, full of love. There was no sadness or longing, just a deep connection and joy at the reunion. Then I caught a glimpse of humanity's future. I saw the challenges we will face in the coming decades: climate change, conflicts, technological advances that will test our ethical limits. But I also saw the incredible potential we have to evolve, to create a world of peace and harmony. I learned about other forms of life in the universe, civilizations so advanced they seem like magic to us. I understood that we are not alone, that we are part of a much larger cosmic community, and that we have an important role to play in this great web of life. All this happened in an instant, and yet it seemed to last an eternity. Time, as I discovered, is just an illusion of our limited perception. In truth, everything exists simultaneously in the eternal now. When I thought I had seen and learned everything, I was surprised again. A voice, or rather, a presence, manifested itself. It was something so grand, so loving, that I can only describe it as the very essence of the universe. This presence showed me that my journey on Earth was not over yet. There was more to learn, more to experience, more to share. It was then that I understood I would return. The decision to come back was not easy. Part of me wanted to remain in that state of ecstasy and infinite knowledge, but I understood that I had an important mission to fulfill. I needed to return and share what I had learned. In the blink of an eye, I found myself back in my body. The pain was intense, the sounds of sirens deafening. I opened my eyes to see doctors and paramedics working frantically to keep me alive. "He's back!" I heard someone shout. The surprise in their voices was palpable. Later, I learned that I had been clinically dead for almost 20 minutes. A miracle, the doctors said, but I knew it was much more than that. The days that followed in the hospital were a whirlwind of tests, visits, and questions. Physically, I was a wreck. Multiple broken bones, internal bruises, a long road to recovery ahead. But mentally, spiritually, I was more alive than ever. I tried to tell my family and the doctors about my experience. I saw disbelief in their eyes, the skepticism I myself would have shown before. Some suggested it was the result of trauma, hallucinations caused by the lack of oxygen to the brain. Old Carlos might have agreed with them, but I knew the truth. As I physically recovered, I realized that something fundamental had changed in me. I could feel the energy of the people around me, almost see their auras. I began having insights and premonitions that proved to be correct. It was as if a sixth sense had awakened. My wife, Maria, was the first to notice the change. "Your eyes," she said one day, "there's something different in them. It's as if you can see right through me." And she was right. I could sense her thoughts, her emotions, in a way I never imagined possible. When I was finally discharged and returned home, I realized that I couldn't simply resume my old life. How could I go back to teaching conventional physics after what I had experienced? How could I ignore the knowledge and responsibility that I now carried? I spent sleepless nights contemplating what I should do. It was during one of those nights of insomnia that I had a clear vision of my purpose. I needed to be a bridge between science and spirituality, between the physical world and the metaphysical. I decided that I would use my position as a university professor to introduce new ideas. to challenge conventional thinking, not in a confrontational way, but by inviting my students and colleagues to expand their horizons, to question their own limiting beliefs. I began incorporating concepts from quantum physics into my lectures, showing how advanced science is arriving at conclusions that mystics have known for millennia. I spoke about the nature of consciousness, about how the observer influences the observed, about the multiple dimensions of reality. Many called me crazy out of course. Some colleagues suggested I take a leave of absence, that I seek psychological help. But to my surprise, many students were fascinated. They felt that there was something true in what I said, something that resonated deeply with them. I started offering workshops and lectures outside the university. In the beginning, they were small groups, but soon word spread. People came from far away to listen to me, to learn about the connection between science and spirituality. One night, after an especially intense lecture, a young woman approached me. Tears streamed down her face as she held my hands. "You saved my life," she said. "I was about to give up on everything, but your words gave me hope, showed me that there is a greater purpose." It was at that moment that I fully understood why I had returned. Every person touched, every open mind, every transformed heart was the reason I had come back. I was fulfilling my mission one step at a time, but not everything was smooth sailing. I faced resistance, criticism, even threats. Some religious fundamentalists accused me of heresy, while certain scientists labeled me a charlatan. I understood both sides. After all, not long ago, I would have been the first to doubt someone like me. Despite the challenges, I continued my work. I began writing books, combining my scientific knowledge with the spiritual revelations I had received. The first book, Beyond the Atom, Consciousness as the Foundation of Reality, became an unexpected bestseller. The book's success led me to TV programs, podcasts, and international conferences. Suddenly, I was at the center of a growing movement, uniting people from different backgrounds: scientists, religious individuals, skeptics, and spiritual seekers. One of the most rewarding experiences was seeing how my story was inspiring other scientists to open up to new possibilities. I received numerous emails from colleagues who, in secret, had experienced similar events, but were afraid to share them for fear of academic ridicule. One of those colleagues was Dr. Robert Chen, a renowned neuroscientist. He approached me after a lecture, visibly moved. "Carlos Q," he said, "15 years ago I had a near-death experience that changed everything I believed, but I buried that memory, fearing it would ruin my career. Hearing you today gave me the courage to finally face the truth." Together, Dr. Chen and I began a revolutionary research project, investigating consciousness beyond the physical brain. We used cutting-edge technology to study altered states of consciousness, deep meditation, and near-death experiences. The results were fascinating and challenged the materialistic paradigm, but not everything in my new life was about work and mission. My relationship with my family also transformed deeply. Maria, my wife, who was initially skeptical and worried about my change, gradually began to embrace this new reality. One night, while we were sitting in the garden watching the stars, Maria held my hand and said, "You know, Carlos, at first I thought I had lost my husband in that accident. Now I realize that I got him back in a way I never imagined possible. Our children, Luisa and Pedro, were also impacted. Luisa, she, who had always been more inclined toward the arts, discovered that she had mediumistic gifts. I helped her understand and develop her abilities, something the old Carlos would never have been capable of doing. Pedro, on the other hand, followed in my footsteps in science, but with a much broader perspective. He became a brilliant quantum physicist, dedicated to exploring the frontiers between science and consciousness. As my work gained recognition, I began to be sought out by leaders from various sectors: politicians, entrepreneurs, artists, all looking for guidance on how to integrate a higher perspective into their fields. A particularly memorable encounter was with the CEO of a major technology company. She was on the verge of launching a revolutionary artificial intelligence, but was deeply concerned about its ethical implications. After hours of conversation, she had an epiphany. What if we could program this AI not only with information, but with the universal principles you discovered? What if we could create an artificial intelligence that was truly conscious and compassionate? That idea opened a new field of research and development, uniting cutting-edge technology with ancient wisdom. It was yet another proof of how the knowledge I had brought back could be applied in practical, transformative ways. As the years went by, I saw the seeds I had planted begin to flourish. Universities around the world were opening departments dedicated to the study of consciousness. Hospitals were integrating spiritual practices into their treatments. Companies were rethinking their business models based on a more holistic understanding of reality. But perhaps the deepest change was the one I observed in the people around me. I saw eyes opening, hearts expanding. I saw people finding a deeper meaning to their lives, reconnecting with their spiritual essence. Over time, I realized that my mission was evolving. It was no longer enough just to share the knowledge I had acquired. It was time to empower others to have their own transcendent experiences. I began developing meditation techniques and consciousness-expanding methods based on what I had experienced during my journey beyond. They were not mere relaxation exercises, but powerful methods to safely and controllably access altered states of consciousness. I organized intensive retreats where people could disconnect from the outside world and dive deep within themselves. The results were extraordinary. Participants reported profound visions, emotional and physical healing, and even out-of-body experiences. One of those participants was Anna, a young doctor who was battling terminal cancer. She came to the retreat as a last resort, having exhausted all conventional treatment options. During an especially intense session, Anna had a consciousness expansion experience that changed everything. She described meeting her higher self, understanding the emotional and spiritual roots of her illness. Anna saw how negative thought patterns and unresolved traumas had physically manifested in her body. The most incredible part was what happened afterward. In the weeks following the retreat, Anna's tests began to show an inexplicable regression of the cancer. In just a few months, to the astonishment of her doctors, she was completely cured. Anna's case was not isolated. More and more people reported miraculous recoveries, profound transformations in their lives, and a new sense of purpose. It was as if by reconnecting with their spiritual essence, they unlocked a healing and transformative potential that had always been there. These results caught the attention of the scientific community. I was invited to collaborate with renowned research institutions to study the effects of these practices on the body and mind. We used state-of-the-art technology, functional MRI, high-definition EEGs, genetic analyses, to document the physical changes that occurred during and after these transcendent experiences. The data we collected were revolutionary. They showed how expanded consciousness could literally reprogram the brain, alter genetic expression, and even influence the immune system. We were uncovering the mechanisms by which the mind influences matter, providing a scientific basis for what mystics have always known. These discoveries had a profound impact on medicine. Hospitals began integrating consciousness expansion practices into their treatment protocols. We saw recovery rates dramatically improve, especially in cases considered terminal. But the implications went far beyond physical health. Companies began adopting these practices to boost their employees' creativity and productivity. Schools integrated mindfulness and consciousness expansion techniques into their curricula, seeing significant improvements in students' performance and well-being. One of the most exciting developments was the application of these techniques in conflict resolution. I was invited to mediate peace negotiations in war zones, using consciousness expansion practices to help parties transcend their differences and find compassionate solutions. I saw longtime enemies embrace each other in tears after experiencing the fundamental unity we share. Conflicts that once seemed insurmountable were resolved when people managed to see beyond their limited identities. As this work expanded globally, I began to see signs of a shift in collective consciousness. People were becoming more aware of their interconnection, not just with each other, but with the entire planet. Environmental protection movements gained a new spiritual dimension. It was no longer just about saving the Earth, but about recognizing our fundamental unity with it. I saw entire communities transform their way of life, adopting sustainable practices not out of obligation, but from a profound reverence for life. Green technologies that once seemed economically unfeasible suddenly found support and funding. It was as if humanity was awakening to its role as the guardian of the planet, not its conqueror. As the years passed, I saw the transformation that had begun within me spreading like ripples throughout society. What started as my personal journey had become a global movement of collective awakening. Universities around the world now offered courses that integrated science, spirituality, and expanded consciousness. A new generation was growing up with a much more holistic understanding of reality, balancing analytical thought with intuition and inner wisdom. Medicine had evolved into a truly integrative approach, recognizing the interconnection between body, mind, and spirit. Hospitals were no longer just places for treating diseases, but centers for healing and transformation on every level. In politics, I saw a new class of leaders emerge, individuals who made decisions based not only on short-term interests, but on the well-being of all life and future generations. Environmental, economic, and social policies began to reflect a deeper understanding of our interdependence. Technology, far from distancing us from our essence, was being used to amplify our connection with one another and with the planet. Social networks evolved into platforms for collective healing and co-creation. Virtual and augmented reality were used to simulate experiences of expanded consciousness, allowing more people to access elevated states of perception. But perhaps the deepest change I witnessed was in the way people related to one another. The fear and distrust that had for so long defined our interactions were giving way to genuine openness and compassion. I saw communities forming not based on geographical proximity or common interests, but on a resonance of energetic frequency. People would meet and instantly recognize a deep connection, as if reuniting with souls from many lifetimes. The concept of family expanded. It was no longer limited by blood ties, but encompassed all of humanity and beyond. People began to feel a genuine responsibility for the well-being of everyone, seeing each individual as an extension of themselves. As this expanded consciousness became the norm, I witnessed dramatic changes in every aspect of society. Economic systems evolved into models based on abundance and cooperation rather than scarcity and competition. Education transformed into a process of self-discovery and the realization of each individual's innate potential. Art and culture flourished in unimaginable ways. Artists, musicians, and writers, connected to deeper levels of inspiration, created works that not only entertained but elevated the collective consciousness. I experienced concerts where the music seemed to come directly from the source of creation, touching the souls of listeners in profound and transformative ways. With the advancement of science and spirituality side by side, we made discoveries that would have once seemed impossible. We learned to communicate telepathically, to access the universal information field, to manipulate matter with the power of the mind. But most importantly, we learned to use these powers with wisdom and compassion. The evolution of consciousness brought with it a deep understanding of our ethical responsibility. The more powerful we became, the humbler and more reverent we felt in the face of the mystery of existence. As I reflected on everything that had happened since that fateful night of the accident, I felt profound gratitude. Gratitude for the journey, for the challenges, for the incredible people I met along the way. I realized that my near-death experience was not the end of a life, but the beginning of something much greater. It was the catalyst for a transformation not only personal but collective. Looking to the future, I feel an indescribable excitement. I know we are only at the beginning of our journey as a species. The possibilities that lie ahead are infinite. And you who are listening to my story now, know that you too are part of this journey. Each one of us has a crucial role to play in this great adventure of consciousness. No matter where you are on your own journey, know that you are more than you imagine, capable of more than you believe. Always remember, reality is far vaster, far more wonderful than our limited senses can perceive. There are worlds within worlds waiting to be discovered, and the greatest of those worlds is within you. So I invite you, open your hearts and expand your minds, dare to explore the deepest corners of your being, for it is there, in the depths of our consciousness, that we will find the answers we seek and the power to create the world we dream of. This is not just my story, it is our story. The story of a humanity awakening to its true potential, to its divine nature, and together, united in consciousness and purpose, there is no limit to what we can achieve. The future is in our hands. Let's co-create it with wisdom, love, and courage. The journey continues, and the best is yet to come. Thank you for listening. May your lives be filled with light, love, and wonderful discoveries. Until next time, my dear companions on this journey,